Hello, this is the LEGO Ninjago Legends Guardian Dragon set. This cost me $150 US. In the Eurozone, the base price is 150 euros. It's 140 pounds UK or $200 Canadian for 1,650 pieces, which took me between 3 and 4 hours to build. Because I live in North America, all of the bags for the parts were plastic in this, with the exception of the specialized container holder for the wings. Answering some of the most important questions right up front, the wings are made of fabric, and it's a relatively heavy and low crease fabric that is printed on one side. And it's just a plain bright green on the other side. Thankfully, there are no weird colors for the Technic connectors. Posability in this set is very limited. You are able to move the top of the neck around a little bit. As soon as you bring that back, you're seeing some of the Mixel connector pieces in there. You can also bring this up and down, as well as twist it from side to side, which is useful. It does need to be able to look down, though, specifically at a person or people on the ground. This is a nice molded piece here with a good print on it. I think that matches what appears to be the intended graphical style for the Legends production, and you can open and close the mouth. The arms, thankfully, are well articulated, so you do have ball joints at the elbows here as well as the wrists, so those can be moved around, and it also has larger ball joints in here for the shoulders. You start to have to move some things out of the way if you want to be able to use that articulation. You can move the arms forward and back a bit. You also have these spikes back on the side, which are nice to be able to spread out, but honestly, there's not a whole lot of expressiveness that you can really get here. The legs are intended to be completely static because they need to hold up all of the weight of this large dragon in this very vertical bipedal form. You can adjust this foot just a little bit up and down. Same thing over there. You can also adjust the toes as well as turning them kind of in and out just like that, but that's the limit. And then the most articulation you can get here is with the tail. It has plenty of space to rotate this all around, have it pose all sorts of different ways, although it is using just a single ball joint each. So depending upon how you do it, you might find it to be falling down. They gave it this little branch of a tree on the side to make sure that that gets cradled. The wings don't really do anything. I thought that you'd be able to at least fold these in and out a little bit, change those, because that's a very important part for the overall expression of the model, and those are static as well. There's one figure included. It's a Ninja Wu ready to battle, and I'll show you that in more detail later. But I have to tell you, this base is fantastic. I don't like the color scheme of it personally. I wish that it had brighter greens in here, but I fully recognize that if it did have brighter greens, those would clash, or rather compete, with the very green dragon itself. So they have more muted colors down here, but the build is fantastic. It is so strong, so compact. The Technic core of this is really well sorted and almost completely hidden. You don't see the usual Technic stuff, apparent from the outside the way you almost always do. Almost all of it is completely hidden away. I mean, this is a Technic beam right here, but you can't even tell. They have the side of it covered up with a little bit of waterfall here. It's kind of brilliant the way they've done this from an engineering perspective. I'm very impressed. And they do have multiple spots to hold the feet of minifigures around there. So it not only does it display as a static thing, but it's intended to be interacted with the figures, and you can put the figures in different places depending upon your personal desires. They also have this large sword here, which is kind of captured in the pond, the swamp right there, and that is dual molded. And you can see this has the dark pearl gray or gunmetal gray color, and the gold, just the regular pearl gold put together. And the hilt has the shape of a dragon head as well, and that does appear from both sides. The shrine archway has a very simple build, but I like that it's off-grid. It's rotated a bit, and it looks really good for what it is. I like the scale as well. These are just stickers here. The whole set has a total of 4 stickers. You're looking at 3 of them right now. The other one is just right down in this smaller shrine, down in the little cave there with the burning candles around the side. And as for other graphics in this, other markings on parts, there are a couple of these lanterns underneath, the Spring Lantern Festival style ones with the trans red color, and just a pair of those. Otherwise, you just have the face or the head of the dragon and the wings. So everything else is done with just, regular, genuine building techniques. And again, the build is very, very strong on this. This is a very tall thing, and yet I don't have any concerns about long-term durability. It's balanced well. It's connected well. If you move the base around quite a bit, if you live in earthquake territory like I do, every once in a while I might do this. There is no issue right there. This thing is going to last for sure. But in order to get that solidness, it did have to, of course, compromise significantly on articulation. I like the fact that they tried to get some shape and suggestion of movement into the static pose here of the spine and the main body. However, it does look very awkward to me. And I know I'm not alone in feeling that way. Not everybody's going to agree with that. Not everybody's going to agree with any opinion, and that's perfectly fine. But to me, it very, very strongly looks like this dragon is suffering from a medical condition. It looks like it has scoliosis. It is awkward to look at in person for me, especially when you consider that the legs are perfectly straight here, and the hip bone, or the entire hip orientation, hip and pelvis orientation, is completely straight to the parallel to the ground, which makes this part here just look extra awkward. Now, how everything fits together is very good. There are very few gaps in there. It's a satisfying enough build. The build order, the order of operations and following the instructions, all that is solid. Just top-notch stuff. The best that you can ask for from Lego designers, and probably a little bit more, because it's so simple to follow this build along for as advanced of a model as it really is from an engineering perspective. But like I said, you're not able to adjust that pose. It does bug me, and I wish that it felt a little bit more natural. At least if the hip had an angle to it as well, would have been really nice. Although very, very, very difficult. I like how consistent the color scheme is throughout this, though. I mean, it's tan, it's green, it's bright green, it's dark green. And then it's accented with consistent use of the pearl gold. They don't go back and forth between different types of gold. And the darker color is also used for tan for some of the shadowed areas. And otherwise, obviously you got the horns up here, which have the brown, but that kind of looks like its own domain, its own space. The tongue stands out appropriately, but just overall, this definitely feels like a proper display model, something that you can be proud of looking at on display. If you look carefully in some, if you really get really close, you can nitpick in some areas from some angles. You see some grays getting through there. But to me, they just, most of that is hidden away. Like even in there, you've got the same sort of thing, the gray joints on the inside. It just doesn't bother me. Just overall, this feels like something to be proud of. It doesn't have a lot on it to be ashamed of. It doesn't have a lot that it wants to hide, that it needs to hide. Honestly, the worst thing about this to me, as far as how it looks beyond the spine thing, is just looking at the wings from the back, and the fact that there's no decoration back here whatsoever. It's also an interesting choice for a change to have the to fully focus on the bone structure right towards the front where it's displayed the most, and to not have weird colors in there. Usually, almost always, Lego is showing us a little bit of blue, or a little bit of red, or a little bit of yellow, or some gray. Here, they have taken care of that entirely. The worst is just the bit of tan right here, but that kind of leads into this spike, So overall, and also kind of synergizes, to use a corporate term, with the tan at the end of these spikes here as well. The Ninja Wu figure looks great. Yep, this is definitely super collectible. This is definitely service to the fans. This is something that a lot of people are going to want and enjoy having. It's actually a dual molded piece with the combination pauldrons and the scarf there. So you got the white and the pearl gold. Of course, Lego has trouble mixing up and messing up the printing of just about anything on white. It's very rare they get printing on top of white wrong. So quality just looks on point. It's right where I want it to be. They could have added some printing along the side, but it's not expected here. I think this is really good as it is. It's a great face for Wu. I'm very happy with that. Some of the Wu figures or some of the Wu faces have not felt right to me. This one feels completely right, with no, extra hairpiece added onto it, no facial hairpiece added onto it. So this is one that you can use just by itself, I think, and it works just like that. Yeah, I could see even just that headpiece being desirable as its own thing to customize earlier figures. And there's the print around the back. No alternate face because of the way that the back of his head is always going to be exposed with his headgear. Again, this is 1,650 pieces and cost me $150. It's 150 euros, 140 pounds UK, or $200 Canadian for a majestic display piece with a really good build. It doesn't take all that long to put it together, credit to the Lego designers and all the standards for instructions, just how easy their sets are to put together. But ultimately, you put it together and then that's it. It's just going to sit on display. This is essentially a statue, but it's a really good statue. I'm happy with it. I'm not too shocked at the price, honestly. If you ignore the wings, because the wings take up give you a lot of visual weight and a lot of visual mass. If you ignore those, you still have a pretty solid core here. It doesn't feel quite like $150 worth of even Lego stuff just through there, but it's close enough. Like I wouldn't reasonably ask for this to be less than 130 at retail, and that's probably already pushing it on my end towards the low end of reasonability, just based on market forces and how these things go. So I think it's in a roughly reasonable range. The only problem is that, it's a statue, but is that actually a bad thing? I don't think it is 100%. I really wish that it was posable as well. And yes, you can technically take the dragon off of here, but there's no point in doing that because it has unequal length legs. So there's no way you're going to get it to stand without giving another custom base. The arms, if you want to go quadrupedal, the arms are not strong enough to hold it up. It's going to kind of collapse down on itself, and you cannot natively repose the wings without doing some customizations. So this is it. If you like what you see here, I think you'll definitely be even more impressed with the build. But yeah, it, for the most part, is exactly what it looks like, which is a feat, which is definitely a triumph from an engineering perspective. Like I said, this is not easy to pull off. Major props to the designer for making this whole thing work. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and what you think about the idea of Ninjago sets for older folks. Obviously, we've got some Ninjago fans who are either becoming adults or already adults now, like who were kids during the heyday of Ninjago, who are now able to afford things like this and more interested in looking at this whole theme in a more mature way, and kind of think of it with more reverence. And this provides reverence to the theme right back. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was of some value to you and some interest, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.